one of the main talking points following City's defeat at Spurs was obviously the performance of goalkeeper James Trafford, who
Yeah,
it's fair to say had an Etihad debut to forget. He was not that convincing with the ball at his feet. There were a couple of incidents where, some of his teammates put him into a bit of trouble. I think I remember one
yeah,
where Rico Lewis was a couple of yards away, passed it to him, and Richarlison pounced on that. So little things like that maybe weren't his fault, but nevertheless, there were some shaky moments at the back for Trafford. And the big one, of course, was that mistake for Tottenham's second goal, passing the ball into a central position, and Spurs capitalised on that very quickly and doubled their lead. So the goalkeeper situations is sure to be one of the main things at the forefront of Guardiola's mind at the moment. Of course, Trafford's a young, highly rated goalkeeper who's still got a lot to learn at the highest level. Then you've got Ederson, who's of course he's been there, he's done it, he had a major role to play in City's success over the
hmm
years, but he does seem to be nearing an exit, whether it's this summer or next summer. And should he leave, of course, City are allegedly looking to sign potentially Gianluigi Donnarumma at PSG, who, I mean, you spoke about Steven, didn't we, last week? So,
yeah.
what are your thoughts of the goalkeeper situation at the moment? What do you think's the most likely outcome for Guardiola for that number one spot? Who do you think's best suited for that role this season and beyond?
So yeah, onto Trafford initially. It was a poor game. I'm willing to give him the benefit of doubt there. He won't be the only young player who has a bit of a stinker. El Kusanov had a terrible start and then got City's Player of the Month in his first game. There's many more examples more prescient than that. But yeah, I think Trafford just had a bit of a mare. Once again, I put it down to his age, being obviously a little bit nervous, and probably the experience of the side around him too, which probably didn't really always help him. If you'd had a Rodri there playing this at the centre, I'm sure he'll be telling him what to do, and I'm sure with confidence to play in his own way, Trafford will be absolutely fine in time. He's young. He's going to make mistakes. It happens. And look, I remember Ederson's first preseason when he joined Manchester City. There were plenty of mistakes of a very similar nature. I know that's preseason, but Ederson's made mistakes like this against Spurs as well. It just happens. So I think there's an acceptance that when you've got a keeper who wants to play in a certain way and is learning new rhythms, it's going to happen, unfortunately. Does it mean he's not good enough? No. Does it mean something we should pay attention to it? Yeah, of course. Will they work on it? Absolutely. Would it really change anything, I think, that Guardiola has planned? I don't think so. I don't think Guardiola is the kind of person to make an assumption based on one game that something's going to work or not work. I don't think it'll change the plans. I think Ederson clearly wants to go to Galatasaray. And I think City are very obviously, according to reports, very close to Donnarumma and his camp. That'll be interesting because those mistakes that we saw with Trafford, they aren't any less likely with Donnarumma. Maybe Donnarumma will just smack it up the pitch, and maybe that's the solution there with his experience. Donnarumma is a keeper of immense quality, and I think Guardiola clearly wants him to come in. It'll signal a change, surely, how we're going to play, which will be interesting to see. But either way, I'm not going to sit here, as I was saying last time, and moan about the idea of a top class keeper coming in. I think there are potential downsides to Donnarumma joining. But there's also massive upside. So there's a sort of give and take element to it. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. Either way, we're going to have quality goalkeepers in Trafford and Donnarumma if he comes in, and if not, if Ederson stays, I expect Ederson will end up being the number one for the rest of the season as well, and he'll show that the quality that he's got. And I think it's going to dawn us as City fans actually. Um, in hindsight, we might be sat here looking back and going, maybe Ederson was a bit better than we realised. I think a lot of us City fans take Ederson for granted. He hasn't been perfect with his gloves. I can admit that, and there's been a few times where maybe he should have done better with shots on goal, which is a big thing for a keeper, I know. But he's not horrific, and he's at least decent. And I think the way that we have to play is a big ask for him. There's so much pressure on him that I think we're going to realize how hard that is to do in life after Ederson. And Ederson is unique. He's an incredibly unique goalkeeper, more unique than maybe people even realize. I've never seen anyone with a ball at his feet that good. And it changes Manchester City from having 10 men in the build up to 11. And I think that's a very unique set of circumstances where he could have made that mistake, but he probably doesn't. And Ederson probably picks out a pass to Rico Lewis, who's free on the right instead, comfortably, because he knows what to do there. And that is also experience, admittedly. It's confidence, but it's also experience. And I think that's going to be very hard to replace for City. That very unique set of circumstances and the muscle memory of these players playing it back to the goalkeeper. Trafford and Donnarumma are going to find that difficult because Ederson a lot more composed than anyone basically in the world in that situation. So we'll see how it goes. There's going to be teething issues though, almost certainly in life of Ederson because when you change a player that pivotal until how you play, it's going to be difficult.